space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of Starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Retrek. I'm Captain Jim, and with me, of course, is Admiral Elliot.
Hi there.
And this episode, which we don't know when you're going to be hearing this one, so we've had to go with an episode that we can drop in anywhere. So you might be hearing this ages in the future. It might be out. Who knows?
Yeah. With how we think the Star Trek schedule's going to go, there's every chance that, what is it? It's the 11th of August now.
Mm-hmm.
When we're going out live. So anyone who's watching us streaming, you're seeing it now. But if you listen on the podcast, there's every chance that you're actually going to hear this at the end of July 2022.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Because, we think there could be 50 weeks of Star Trek, of new Trek coming up.
It's possible, yeah, to get all the ducks lined up in a row. It can very easily go that way. So, what we're going to talk about, we're looking at Dark Frontier from Voyager. So it's a nice, standalone-ish. Obviously, it's part of the 7 of 9 saga, but it's a one-off Borg story that we can dig into and have a bit of a chat about at the moment. So
yeah, and look at Voyager maths again.
Yeah, I noticed a few things that we need to talk about in this one. And I think there's a bit of, ruining the old canon and ruining people's childhoods in this one. The sort of thing we expect from Alex Kurtzman these days, but not from the classic Star Trek. And
yeah, because that never happened in classic Trek, did it?
Exactly. Anyone who's not picking up on the sarcasm, this episode's a good example of how you can change little bits here and there, but we'll get to all that as we go through. So yeah, this one, it's trying to do two things. It's trying to be Voyager's version of Way of the Warrior, because it's a two-parter, but it was broadcast as one. It was made as kind of a TV movie. And I remember it being bigged up as an event, this.
If I remember rightly, though, even though this is a TV movie, when it was shown on BBC Two the first time, I'm sure it was still shown as a two-parter.
Yeah, probably
yeah,
so.
Because Star Trek Voyager had a 45 minutes time slot on BBC Two.
Oh yeah, BBC didn't mess about. The only thing they did, which was really nice, was when they showed Best of Both Worlds Part 1, they'd already got Part 2. They didn't get the rest of Season 4 for years, but they actually showed them two back to back, I remember. So
it took me ages to see Part 2 of Best of Both Worlds.
Well, I remember it being 1 week after another, because we were all talking about it at school, unless I was watching it the second time it was there.
You could have been, let's bear in mind, you'd have only been about 9 or 10 when Best of Both Worlds was first shown.
I was at middle school, so that'd be about right. So anyway, but I remember, because we were all talking about it and, what's going to happen? And then I remember him showing the second part. And at the time, I didn't know it were two separate seasons. And it was a few years later. Anyway, so it's trying to be that. It's trying to be Way of the Warrior. It's trying to be its own two-part extravaganza. And it's also trying to be First Contact. It's a lot of the stuff in here. Some of it is just almost taken exactly from First Contact, but not just the fact that it's got the Queen, but some of the things that goes on. I'm not sure it's entirely successful in either of those things, but I do think it's a good, fun episode.
It's a fun episode, and it's one of those that, even if you haven't been watching Voyager episode by episode following the story, you can just dive in and watch this episode on its own.
Yeah, you can do. And I think the thing is, a bit like the Klingons, the Borg are famous enough that even if you're not a Trekkie, you can go, oh, the Borg are in this one. Cool, let's watch that one.
Yeah. Well, this is one of those ones that, like, you said it was a TV movie. And, like, we used to get our video cassettes and it'd have 2 episodes on.
Mm-hmm.
And this was released, like, in a normal thing, like Next Gen, DS9, Voyager. That all had a picture that ran through the spine so you could collect them like that. But this one was also released separately. So this got 2 releases. This was released as a movie.
I have a feeling as well that what they did with this one was it had, and this is going back to your physical media, but I think the VHS had a reversible sleeve. So they had it as like Dark Frontier, like like they could put it in the movie aisle with everything else. And then if you took out the VHS sleeve and turned it inside out, it had like, season 5, volume, whatever, and all this stuff. And I think they did something similar with Way of the Warrior. They definitely did.
Like, well, I've got, I've got the whole of DS9 on video still, and I have it displayed.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever noticed, but I have 2 copies of The Emissary.
Oh, yeah.
Because I bought it when it first came out as the special video release, limited edition, which is in this lovely black case.
I remember
it has a bit of stuff at the start. But then to have the picture, I had to buy disc 1 as well. Video 1.
Yeah, I remember that. So we start off then, and this is straight away really first contact. Like, we've got this Borg eye view of like the Borg thing moving around the ship, which is exactly how first contact starts. And obviously we don't get, go into a sequence with Picard, but we do get a dream sequence later on, which is
which isn't actually far off from Picard's dream, is it?
No, not at all. But we get a new style Borg ship, which is pretty cool. Like, it's this sort of oblong
Scout
kind of shaped one.
It's like a Scout, innit?
Yeah, it's not a perfect square. It's got sort of rounded off corners, almost like a dumbbell or something. I think this might be the only time we ever see that one, but it's pretty cool. And then we get a pretty cool battle to start us off. What I really like about it is where they beam the torpedo into the thing. Like, this is something it's one of them that, as a fan, and I wonder if this is something where they've looked at, like, oh, this is what fans have always been on about, let's actually do it.
Yeah.
Because I always thought, like, why don't they just beam a live torpedo?
Well, that's it. And they follow it all through really well, don't they? Because you have the bit in the battle first, so the firing phases, and then you hear in the Borg cube remodulating shields, so there's obviously been shield damage, and that's when they beam through.
Yeah, exactly.
So they don't just beam through the shields.
Yeah, no,
they actually remembered it in this episode that you can't beam through shields.
They did, yeah. It's one of those that you're like, why don't they do stuff like this more often? And I know, like, there's a meme, isn't there, where it's a Star Destroyer from Star Wars chasing the Enterprise, and Picard says, just beam a torpedo over.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good. Glad they did that. And then you get this sort of weird thing from Janeway where she's like, I'm feeling lucky. And it's like, okay. So, obviously...
So you've just become Dirty Harry.
Yeah, she has. And it's kind of like, this was released during and I don't even know if they still have this now because of how media's changed, but it's what they call the sweeps period in American TV, which is basically where advertisers decide which program they're going to sell their adverts to. And so traditionally, you put out your biggest, best episodes during the sweeps period because you want high viewing figures. So the advertisers, here we are. This is a good show. So it's almost like, the sweep period's coming up. Janeway's decided we're going to wage war on the Borg because we need an impact episode. So fair play to her. And yeah, they're scavenging all this stuff. And Chakotay says, you're about to drop a bombshell because you're fiddling with your comm badge. Does she? Has Janeway ever done this before?
Yeah, I was sort of thinking, what, does she stand around going like that before she makes...
Yeah, before
I'm not sure if she has or not. It's one of the...
We'll have to have a watch back, like just before she kills two Vicks. Like, oh, have a quick play with thing, right? We're gonna kill two Vicks. Oh, right, we're gonna.
I'm gonna destroy the array.
Yeah, we'll have a quick fiddle with my badge. Yeah, it's one of them, isn't it? Like we've talked about it a little bit when we watched that awful Dax episode, Meridian, where the guy's saying, "Oh, I noticed that you always bite your lip when you concentrate." No, she doesn't.
No, she doesn't.
She's never done that before. And this feels like one of them. Like, let's drop a little character moment in to show how well Chakotay knows Janeway, but let's use something she never does and call.
Yes.
Yeah. So there we are.
Although, as we discover as this episode goes on, Chakotay does have a way of seeing things differently than they actually are, how he reports on them.
Yeah, he definitely does. And yeah, well, again, we'll get to all of that. But I like when they start talking about Fort Knox and they say, oh, the Ferengi tried robbing it 10 years ago. Which, if you look at your Star Trek timeline, that's the year after the official first contact with the Ferengi.
Yeah.
So as soon as they find out about Earth, they're like, oh, we like sound of this Fort Knox
thing.
Well,
yeah, like it doesn't actually make a lot of sense because, like, the Ferengi use gold pressed latinum.
Yeah,
but it's actually the latinum that is the valuable thing.
Yeah, the gold's
gold is worthless. So why would they be trying to rob this gold suppository?
Maybe they've got a load of latinum and not enough gold to put round it or something, or I don't know. Maybe after Fort Knox, after money stopped getting used. And that's good. We find out when they stopped using money as well in this one. This is the first time it's ever mentioned. Like Tom says, money went out of fashion in the late 22nd century.
Yeah.
So it's nice that they've kind of put a date on that. So it has still been around in Archer's time, but then after that...
Yeah, like... We've talked lots, haven't we, about the finances and all that. Well, how do they actually do this? Because it's okay not having money on Earth, but do other planets within the Federation have money that you need to operate? And Klingons and Romulans and Cardassians, and obviously you need to be able to trade with the Ferengi.
No, exactly. I reckon it makes a lot of sense if you think about, well, Archer's is the last Trek series we've seen where they've still got money. After that mission that they did, the Xindi and all of that, Archer were probably like, right, we want a serious pay rise now. We want some proper danger money. So the Federation just went, oh, you know what? We're getting rid of money, Archer. Sorry, we can't. We can't give you a pay rise.
You're just doing this to make yourself better now.
That's it. A couple of years ago, we didn't.
Let's look at inflation. So, as the captain of the flagship, let's say it was on $500,000 a year, which I think is pretty reasonable for the time period that's elapsed.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So it's just done this big thing, and he goes, right, guys, my $500,000, I'm due my annual bonus.
Exactly.
Saving Earth. Saving 7-8 billion people. That's got to be worth $1 billion easy as my bonus this year. By the way, while you've been off it fighting Xindi, we've decided we're doing away with money this year.
Got rid of it.
You're just doing this for the good of you now.
I'll tell you what, you can have all of it, but it's not worth out anymore. So, you can have as many as you want, Captain Archer. Yeah, what do you want? 97 jillion, that's fine. Yeah,
that's fine, but there's nowhere to spend it.
Can't spend it anywhere, yeah. So, bit annoyed, probably why he left Starfleet. And then Scotty kills his dog, so, not a good later career for Archer. So... basically, it's all the setup in it. We're going to steal a transwarp coil, which, that's a good idea, Janeway. That'll get you home a lot quicker.
Yeah,
And
I have no problem with her wanting that technology. And I think things like this are going to play into Prodigy.
yeah, maybe. And she's got, she makes quite a good point. Like, oh well, we've beaten the Borg twice already, so
I'm trying to think, beating them twice. So she, like, when she's thinking, is she thinking of Scorpion? Because did she really beat the Borg? She sort of did a deal with them, and then managed to get away.
Yeah, and got Species 8472 give them a bit of a pasting.
Yeah.
The only other one I can think of is Unity, but is that the full-on Borg, or is that like...
No, that's sort of like they're separated from the collective, aren't they?
Yeah.
So she's maybe counting Scorpion, so let's sort of give her it, because she got 7 of 9.
Maybe she's counting Scorpion Part 1 and Scorpion Part 2.
Well, maybe she's counting the scout ship that they've just blown up with the torpedo.
Could be. Yeah, that's 2. So, yeah, all right.
So we'll give her 2.
Yeah, she can have that. Which, like you've said before, like that shows how much the weakening the Borg that Voyager's beaten them twice.
Well, it's one of them things, isn't it? And unfortunately, it's a necessary evil if you want to keep using the same bad guy. Like, they brought in the Borg, and when the Borg were first brought in Q-Who, they were so kick-ass in front of us. And then again, still, by best of both worlds, they were so far in front of us and so hard. But you have to start nerfing them if you want to keep bringing them back.
Yeah, because otherwise you just can't... Like, even in First Contact, they still beat the fleet.
Yeah, and it's not just Star Trek that does this, because you have it in, like, the other great franchise long-running, Doctor Who. You look at the Daleks, how many times the Doctor has beaten the ultimate race in the galaxy?
Yeah, that's it. Like that one where they come back at the end of the David Tennant one, and they tried to really sell it like you had Captain Jack going, oh, the world is doomed and all of it. And it's like, oh, come on. They've already done for him twice.
Yeah,
It's like
we love the Dalek episodes and the iconic characters. It's like the Borg, the iconic characters. We love the episodes, but you know that your heroes are going to win in the end.
Yeah,
whatever the baddie is, and it's a necessary evil that really good baddies have to get nerfed the more they're used.
They do, otherwise, like you say, you can't. But I think they took it a bit too far with the Borg. Like, it gets a bit silly by the end of it, because this isn't... There's a good few more Borg encounters to come before the end of Voyager, and it gets a bit... really.
Like, we're doing Endgame, aren't we, for our good friend Ian for Squeefest.
Exactly, yeah. So we'll talk about that one. So Janeway says Seven's going to go through these logs from the Raven. I don't know why we haven't done this already, because we find out there's a lot of good stuff in here that's really helpful.
Well, that's it. Like, the Raven was, episode 4 of season 4, and we're on episode 15, 16 now of season 5.
Yeah.
So in Star Trek time, they've had these logs for about 18 months.
Yeah.
So surely somebody would have looked at them.
Yeah, even if it's not 7. And when she gets the logs, it's these whacking great big containers. Like, this is something that Star Trek got completely wrong. Like, they guess, they got a load of stuff right. Like, they've got the data pads and blah, blah, blah. But for some reason, it never crossed anybody's mind that you could have more than one thing on these different storage devices. Because you get these episodes where it's like, oh, I've got the duty roster for you, and there's like 20 different pads in it. And
although that's brought up in DS9, isn't it? And I'm sure it's the one where Odo's has to start keeping logs.
Yeah.
And he goes on about the data devices for the Federation, and he goes, it's humans just want to record everything.
Yeah.
they've spent so much. They've spent hundreds of years making the storage devices smaller and smaller and smaller to be able to store more and more and more information.
Yeah, it's true.
So it sort of contradicts itself. They say that they've got really tiny storage devices to hold masses, and yet every log is on a separate tablet.
These logs that Seven's got. So this is one of your, this is your let's change the canon a little bit and let's muck about with it. And this is the sort of thing, if Alex Kurtzman did it, people would be outside with pitchforks trying to...
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So Seven's parents, this is meant to be set in 2356. Which puts it 9 years before Q-Who and 19 years before now. So you've already got the Hansons saying, oh, yeah, the Borg, the rumours and we don't know. But they're already talking about knowing it's the Borg. They know that the Borg have cubes. They know that there's a Borg Queen, which we didn't even know until First Contact. So it's... all of a sudden, Starfleet had all this knowledge nearly 10 years before they came across the Borg.
And like another thing that's actually really annoying about this is like they haven't got back any of the characters from Raven.
No, true.
It's like surely you could have done a call. Like you have recurring characters, but not one of them. They couldn't get a mother, a father, or young Annika back to do the...
Yeah, very true. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not that bothered by it. We know that it's contradicting what's previously been established. Can live with it. It could have been avoided. I'm sure they could have thought of some way around it,
Yeah, they could have... They could have been out doing something else and fallen through a wormhole and ended up further away.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't have to be studying the Borg. And, I mean, it makes for some quite cool stuff, the flashbacks, and I enjoy them. But it just seems a little bit sloppy to just so easily disregard something like that. But...
yeah, how dare you change the canon of TNG?
It's like we've said no end of times, though, like when we've talked about Discovery and things like that, like there is so much Star Trek that if you tried to get everything absolutely right, it'd really stifle what you could do in terms of storytelling.
Well, the problem is that even from TOS, Star Trek has always changed its own canon.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And a lot of it in TOS was there was still... it's like as they were writing it, they were deciding what they could do.
Of course they were. Like the name of Starfleet changed about 6 times.
Yeah.
We had all sorts of crazy ones like the United Earth Space Agency and all kinds of stuff.
And like we had it at one point where the Delta wasn't the Federation badge. That was just for the Enterprise. Every ship had its own badge.
Yeah. They've claimed that, haven't they? They've said, oh, that was a mistake in the props department. I pulled the other one. No, it wasn't. Anyway. So we've got this bit where they're on the sphere and it's sort of, it's a simulation, isn't it? So this is like your trope that you do in heist movies, like, because this is basically a heist movie.
Oh, yeah.
And you always have the bit where you explain what the plan's going to be and you show the plan. And then when we actually do the plan, you can see how it goes wrong. Thing. So that's what they're doing here. And I quite like that. And
well, like, let's jump to the end where they finish the plan and they go, oh, it took us 2 minutes, 12 seconds.
Yeah.
To do everything. And Kim goes, 12 seconds, it might as well be an eternity. We can't shave it off. And now let's jump to the beginning again and let's see where they could save that time.
Yeah, that's very true, actually.
So I found 21 seconds immediately. And you have Chakotay sat in Janeway's chair, and he's got the little computer, and it's got the countdown, and it goes 58, 57, 56, and Chakotay goes, quick, you've got 35 seconds left. 21 seconds, problem solved.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. But like when they're on the ship as well, like they're all just strolling. Like
there's the best part where Tuvok and Kim have split off and they're setting the charges.
Yeah.
So Kim has to set all 3 charges. So Tuvok tells him, you need to set a charge here, right where his shoulder is. It's like, well, couldn't you put the charge there?
Yeah, and he does, and he goes here, here, and here. And when they actually do it later on, he does the same thing here, here, and here. It's like, if you've run this many simulations, shouldn't Harry know where to put them without you pointing at all 3 of them?
And haven't you noticed yet that when you were short of time, that if you had the charge to put where you're going to stand, instead of Harry having to walk around the console to get there?
Or maybe because Harry's in front of you, so maybe when Harry will walk in past it, just, slap the charge on Harry as you go past and come back to do it again. And Seven has like a bit of a trance, doesn't she? This is like your first clue that something's going a bit weird.
Yeah.
And she admits that she's nervous about it. And we get that bit where like Naomi goes to see her. And I think Naomi Wildman's used quite well in this episode. But it turns out this is a nightmare, and it does the same thing as in Picard's nightmare, where the little thing pops out.
Well, this is literally a rip. It is the second half of the rip-off of Picard's dream, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And we could say, okay, well, they've both been assimilated by the Borg, and they've both returned from it, so maybe they do have similar dreams. They've got similar trauma. Fair enough. And then the Borg Queen starts talking to Seven, and she's going to spare Voyager, but only if Seven rejoins them. So that's your setup, basically, for the rest of the episode. There's a bit more flashback with the Hansons, and they've got these special dampeners, which now that the Doctor knows about them, he can replicate them. So, again, but a bad idea if we'd have known about these a while ago. Yeah,
like, it's that other good thing, though, isn't it, that the Borg have had this technology for 19 years, and they adapt all technology that they discover.
Oh, that's very true. Yeah, you'd think they'd have adapted to it already, yeah. Oh, that's ruined that one then. So, yeah, you make a good point. And there's a thing with Janeway, like she doesn't want to send Seven. She's worried about her. And at first I was like, this is really good because Janeway's saying, you look distracted. It'd be your first time back in a ship, in a Borg ship since you got out of the collective. And I thought Janeway were going to put a foot down fully and just go, no.
Yeah, you're not coming.
Because we've seen this scene so many times before, like not just in Star Trek, but in lots of other things where you have the person who maybe shouldn't go on the mission, but they make a plea to the captain as to why it's so important to them and why they really need to go. And then the captain always comes round and goes, okay, and then they save the day. And I thought what they were doing here was like going to subvert it a little bit and have Janeway going, no, I'm putting my foot down. I need you on the bridge. You're staying on the bridge. It's too dangerous. But of course, if she did do that, we wouldn't have much of the rest of the episode, would we? So, yeah. And then we play out the mission again, and Tuvok does his there, and there.
Yeah.
But it does go wrong because Seven decides to rejoin the collective. And, she goes to meet the Queen, who like they try and outdo the entrance that the Queen had in First Contact, don't they? Like in First Contact, they lowered the head down on the thing.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, it's like, well, we're going to show the legs coming in and the body getting built up, and
which it's a really nice effect.
Yeah, I think it's done really well, and especially when you consider First Contact did it with a movie budget, but Voyager manages to do something,
on a par. Yeah, arguably it's on a par. And they've done it on a TV budget. Like, admittedly, like, one of the reasons the Borg did get used so much, and it's the same as what happens with a lot of recurring bad guys, is it costs so much for the prosthetics and parts and the props and all that you do end up having to reuse them over and over and over again.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, the Borg Queen, obviously, is a different actress in this one, but it's very, very, very much the same design and everything.
Oh, yeah.
It's not clear whether it is meant to be a different Queen or whether it's meant to be the same Queen. I think you could read it either way if you wanted to.
Yeah, it like we hear things in other episodes about, I was destroyed there, but I'm still here. And is the sort of other Queens ready? Is like, arguably, you could look at this. Seven is being groomed to be a queen, a future queen.
Yeah, I think that does seem to be what's.
So you get the impression that you might destroy the queen, but the queen will still be there. There's another queen ready who will be exactly the same as the previous one. Yeah, there'll be no difference.
The way I've always sort of understood it is that the Queen effectively is just a mouthpiece for the Borg collective, because the Borg is one mind.
Yeah.
And the way I've always understood it is like the Queen sort of speaks for that mind, and she's autonomous to some degree, but she's still the Borg rather than an individual as such. So, whether this is the same body that we saw in First Contact or not doesn't really matter, because it's still
the Queen.
The same thing. And she suggests something really, really interesting at this point, that she says, well, do you think that it was an accident that you ended up on Voyager and came out of the collective? And there's this implication that they've sent Seven to Voyager deliberately to kind of spy on them and learn more.
Yeah, learn.
Which I think that's really, really interesting. And I'm not sure if we ever go back to that, really.
It's one of those things that, even with everything that happens in the rest of Voyager and forward now into Picard, because Seven's story obviously has continued, it's still 100% plausible that the Borg did deliberately send her to Voyager.
It's a really interesting idea, and it's almost like it almost sort of undermines a bit the journey that Seven's been on, because it implies that that's what they wanted all along.
Yeah, so the Borg have set her up to do this.
Yeah, it's not as miraculous that she has managed to regain a bit of a humanity and everything. Now, I know that it's implied that she's a bit under duress, like, the Queen's been communicating with her, and we do dig into that a little bit later, but I'm really not sure that I buy Seven's motivations in this one. Like, I don't feel like it ever comes across strongly enough what's going on in her head. Like, is she deliberately betraying them? Is she being forced to betray them? Does she actually want to go back?
I got the, like, as it's revealed that the Queen's been talking to her and sending communications through a cortical node, I get the impression that she's actually being controlled. She's almost been brainwashed, hypnotized into doing what she's acting. It's like the Queen's I think the Queen just saying, like, we're here in the cargo bay, we hear the Queen telling Seven, if you rejoin the collective, I'll spare Voyager. But I think there's been a lot more going on, sort of little whisperings while she's regenerating, sort of planting things in the subconscious to come home and
maybe
leave
so.
them. And I think she's been controlled and manipulated in this.
Yeah, I mean that's the best answer in terms of like Seven's character and everything. But
And also, if you look at how she acts when she is back with the Borg, like she tries saving that species and all that. So she's still acting like Seven that we know. She's not acting like a Borg.
No, and she's kind of going on along with some of it, but not all of it. And
yeah,
I don't know. I just think I think the episode could have made it clearer exactly.
Yeah, I don't think the episode makes it clear enough that she's manipulated, but I always got the impression that she's manipulated to leave Voyager.
Yeah,
because you see as soon as she's back there, she doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I just think they could have played up the drama of that a lot more, made it a lot more, so you cared about it a lot more.
Yeah,
like when you're watching it, you're like,
there's part of it that really that sort of throws a spanner in that, because like I was thinking about that yesterday while I was rewatching it, and if she is being controlled and manipulated, and obviously the Queen's been sending a signal across God knows how many hundreds of light years to Voyager initially, and not able to all the time. But surely once Seven's back on the Borg cube, she could be being bombarded with these signals constantly.
Well, yeah,
keep her under control.
But then the Queen does keep saying that it's because she's unique and they want her to keep her individuality, so they're not just reassimilate her. She also says she's the only Borg ever to get out of the Borg collective. Like, wait a minute, what about Hugh and all his mates?
Yeah, and what about Jean-Luc?
Jean-Luc, exactly. So it's like, not sure.
Yeah.
What about them ones that you met in Voyager where they've made their own little collective?
Yeah.
And, you know,
Unity.
Is it Unity? Yeah, I can't remember. But so yeah, there's more than just her that's done it. Let's not get carried away, Queenie, you know. And I do like the Borg, like the colony in space that the Borg have got. I think that's a really cool looking design and everything.
Yeah, well, it's massive, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
God knows what scale that actually is, because there's cubes and little parts of it that we know are miles across.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we do see the Delta Flyer there, so yeah, it is huge. I mean, I suppose that's the closest to like the Borg homeworld you're gonna get.
Yeah, well, I always got the impression that there's several of these throughout the galaxy and all that. So this isn't just one of them.
Maybe so.
Like, I'd say the one in Endgame has got to be a different one, because otherwise they've spent 2 years going to the same place.
That's true. But I wouldn't rule it out for Voyager. But yeah, especially when you consider at the end of this episode, they reckon they knocked 15 years off of the trip. So they're probably not that far away by the time they actually get home, because the amount of times they've knocked a few years off here and there. And
yeah, like Kes threw them 10 years, didn't she?
Yeah, exactly. And then at the end of season 4, they threw them quite far with that guy who wanted to go back and kill the Borg.
Yeah, was that another 10 years?
Something like that.
So that's
35.
35 years, so that's half of it.
Yeah, we're nearly halfway there. I quite like the bit where Naomi goes to see the captain and has a little plan and everything, and Janeway tells her, you know, one of the rules of being a captain is don't leave anybody behind.
Yeah.
I think that's a cute scene. I know Naomi Wildman gets a lot of stick, but I do think she's quite well used in this one.
Yeah, I don't know why she gets so much stick, because...
No, I don't.
she's not actually bad. She's not misused much actually in Voyager.
I think some people just don't like little kids in TV shows, regardless of what they do.
I'm sure that's what it actually is
And
how dare you have a child actor?
Yeah, maybe because she hangs out with Neelix all the time as well.
Yeah.
You know, a bit of guilt by association. Back in the flashback then, the Hansons, they find 3 of 5, which was Hugh's number as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, Hugh always said 3rd of 5, but then they obviously thought 7 of 9 sounded cooler than 7th of 9. So they changed the way we do it, which is fair enough. But I just thought that was interesting. The Borgs got the same designation. And now they've made the Delta Flyer into like a super transwarp ship, which is, that's pretty cool.
Like, to be fair, the Delta Flyer already has a lot of Borg technology incorporated into it. So it'd probably be a lot easier to incorporate the Borg transwarp cell into the Delta Flyer, which is based around Borg technology, than into Voyager itself.
Yeah, very good point. And then the interaction between Seven and the Queen, I think, is quite cool. Like, you get Seven sort of helps her with the tactics. Like, she's saying, you know, what should I do here? And Seven's sort of giving her expertise on that. So she is complying to some extent, but then she's not going to help with the assimilation. Like, the Queen says, no, I don't think we'll put you on that yet. But then she does instinctively almost stop someone from escaping. And you can see that she feels guilty about it. And that's why, you know, obviously she goes off to help the others get away. So it's, again, it's just not that clear. Like, where is she on Twitter at any given time? Like, she's not refusing outright to help the Queen. Well, it's almost
I think
back in.
Like, like, to be fair, when it comes to the tactics of assimilating a planet and a species, I think the Borg have done it that many times that the tactics are already there. So Seven might as well say what the tactics are, because she'll be fully aware that the Borg already know what to do in this situation.
Yeah, I don't.
So what is she doing? What, she couldn't delay it.
No, but then why does she stop the guy from escaping initially? Is that like a bold impulse?
I think it's just instinct because someone's running.
Yeah. And eventually she does get the Queen to let the ship go, which is pretty good. And, you know, is that the Queen trying to manipulate Seven? Like, you know, show her that I can show a bit of compassion, but
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think that's the Queen trying to stay on Seven's good side.
Yeah. And that sequence where Seven goes and rescues that family, that is major, like, horror movie vibes in that. Like, I think they do a really good job of showing how horrific, like, what goes on with the Borg is. And we did that in Best of Both Worlds, where we showed Picard being assimilated, but I don't think we always do a lot of that. But I thought this was really, really effective. Like, it is like a mini horror movie in the middle of the episode.
Well, we saw some of it in First Contact as well, didn't we? It's like they just saw limbs off randomly to replace them. Yeah,
exactly. And there's this suggestion as well that it was the Borg Queen specifically who assimilated the Hansons and Seven as well. But it feels like it's building up to a flashback showing us that, because Seven goes like, oh, it was you. But we don't get it.
We don't see it.
The flashback stops really just before it all kicks off. And I don't know, maybe I wonder if they scripted something or wrote something, you know, maybe even filmed it and it was cut or whatever. But
yeah, like, end of the day, you have to fit all of this into an hour and a half and you have no leeway. It's not like you're making a movie.
No.
And they say, yeah, we're releasing a 90-minute movie. And then the director goes, right, we've edited and all sorts, but then he goes to the studio, but we need it to be an hour and 37 minutes because we've got these parts are so important.
Yeah.
No, this is TV. You have a time slot.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you see, if they'd have saved you've saved them 20 odd seconds twice, so we could have had a bit of time to do it. And the Queen's got this whole thing of, we're going to design a new way of assimilating humans because it hasn't worked so far. And it's going to be, they're going to bombard the atmosphere with nanoprobes that are going to act almost like a virus and all of this stuff. And it's okay, but it's not just humans that have stopped you the other time. It's the crew of the Enterprise, basically, not just...
Yeah.
But it's the Federation, so I'm not sure humans as such are the problem. It's
it's that thing, isn't it, that because it's us, the Federation, we know the Federation consists of hundreds of species, but we always think of it as humanity as the head of the Federation. Full stop, because that's our perspective on it.
Yeah. And I really like some of the stuff the Queen comes out with. Like, first of all, she talks about like assimilation from the other side. Like, she talks about, well, think about how much this has benefited our species. Which we never look at. We always see it from the side of, well, they're just destroying other and other cultures.
Well, it's one of them things that's not. It needs to be done. Put into canon where the Borg came from. There's so many different speculations about it. It'd be nice if someone had literally had the balls to go, right, we're gonna do it. We're gonna show the Borg origins.
Yeah, like you said, there's been versions in books and comics.
Yeah, but we all know until it's on screen, it's not proper canon.
True.
Like, they're talking about there's going to be made for TV movies for CBS All Access. Wouldn't it be great to do like a 2-hour movie? Is Borg Origins?
Yeah, that would be cool.
You don't need Starfleet in it at all. I think if like Star Trek's strong enough, I think that you should be able to have something like that now. We don't need the Federation in it. We're going to show this in the Delta Quadrant. It's this species, and this is how it happened. Yeah,
it could almost be like Caprica, that Battlestar Galactica spin-off. I mean, that didn't do too well, unfortunately. But yeah, the idea could be cool. And the other one that she says that's quite interesting is, she says to Seven, well, you're just parroting what Janeway's saying. You're being a mindless automaton, just copying what the humans have done. So she's almost twisting it of, they're saying that that's what happens when you join the Borg, but look at what's happened to you.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying she's right, but I think it is interesting.
She has a fair point.
Yeah, that she's spinning it and seeing it from the Borg side of it. So I do really like all of that stuff. And ultimately, we get a confrontation between Janeway and the Queen, and it's kind of the battle for Seven's soul, really. And this, to me, is very much a rip-off of the scene in First Contact with Data and Picard and the Borg Queen.
Oh, without a doubt.
You've even got that bit where, like, Seven goes, oh, shoot at the thing, and that's like when Data smashes the
plasma thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like a beat-for-beat knockoff of it, and fair enough, because, it's a good scene in First Contact.
It is a good scene, and, like, you need a way to do... for this as well, don't you? For how they're going to get away and everything. So
yeah. Again, it could have been a little less on the nose, less of a deliberate. It is just kind of like going, oh well, people like that in First Contact, so let's do that with our characters.
Yeah,
If we get away
like
with
the reality is, it's their own it is their intellectual property, so they can do that.
You can rip yourself off, definitely. I mean,
Yeah,
going back
like
to
Star Trek, like there was I haven't watched it yet, but someone's put it out, and there's this list of how many times Star Trek has ripped itself off.
Oh yeah, of course.
literally scene for scene.
And it's like, you were talking earlier on about Doctor Who, like the Dalek stories, like not so much now, but for probably the first 30 years of Doctor Who, the Dalek episodes were pretty much the same. It was, you had your first Daleks, then you had Daleks Invasion of Earth, which were the same, but it were on Earth. Then you had your Daleks Master Plan, and then they brought Davros in, so that mixed it up a bit. But then every one after that for 10 years were Davros and the Daleks do the same thing again, and it's because we like similar stories. We like being told. That's why like superhero origin stories are always a good watch, because we like that,
Yeah.
I just think it's too on the nose. It's too exact. But anyway, so we get a pretty exciting escape thing where they get into the conduit and you've got the ship following them, and they've only got a certain amount of time to get out of it. They've got to keep in it before the Borg ship destroyed, and Janeway turns the life support off and everything. I think all that's really well.
Yeah.
And I like
the part I don't like about all this is when they get out of the conduit and they get to the scanning, and the on Voyager scanning, and they go, there's a ship following them. And Chakotay goes, okay, fire a torpedo, so and so. And instead of doing it straight away, B'Elanna goes, why?
Yeah, I don't understand that. What?
And he has to explain it, and it's sort of like, hold on, this is a split-second thing that you've got going on. Your first officer has just told you exactly where to fire. So fire. Plus, you're the chief engineer. Surely you would know what will happen when the torpedo hits there.
You think so? And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to work out if they're coming through that and we blow it up, it'll stop them coming through. So I
thought Chakotay as the first officer was really good here at this point because he makes a split-second decision. He knows exactly what to do, and he gives the order. And B'Elanna is just so out of character.
Yeah,
why?
It doesn't make sense dramatically. There's no reason for her to question the order.
Yeah,
and I mean, maybe they go, oh well, it might heighten the tension a bit.
Maybe it's because like we don't actually get a special effect, do we, of it all blowing up?
No, we get.
So maybe they had to put the line in of what they're doing because we're not getting a special effect for it.
Could be.
But it just seemed out of character. It'd have been better if they did it right, we're scanning and we can see them coming and they're going to be entering in 30 seconds and they go, right, we need to know, what should we do? And someone says, why don't we fire a torpedo there?
Yeah, or if
to collapse it after the Delta Flyer comes out.
Yeah, if you'd have had Janeway communicating with the ship and saying, as soon as we come through, I need to detonate the aperture or whatever.
Well, I'm quite happy for it to be Chakotay that worked as a first officer, because he is a first officer, and he should be capable of making these decisions. We know he doesn't do it often, so it's quite good that he actually does it.
Yeah, very weird from B'Elanna,
but it just didn't fit with B'Elanna.
No, you're right. They do pull a good sort of a double bluff. Like the Delta Flyer comes through, they blow it up. And then it's like, oh, wait a minute, it's all coming through again. We've got multiple readings. Oh, shit. But then it's all destroyed anyway. So it's quite a good, like, little fake out right at the end. And yeah, so it's a very exciting sequence and everything. And then obviously this is where we get, we're 15 years closer again. So
before the transwarp coil burnt out.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be one of those things because you've got bogged, like I said with the Delta Flyer, the transwarp conduit will fit better into the Delta Flyer than it would into Voyager. So that's probably why it's burnt out. But I think they're going to sort of look at these technologies that Voyager has brought back. That are going to end up in the Delta Flyer.
Yeah. Well,
sorry, not the Delta Flyer, the Protostar.
Protostar, yeah. Well, hopefully not too long to find out, or probably by the time most people are listening to this, we've already found out. So see whether you're right or not. And then we get the final scene with Janeway and Seven where, they're okay with each other despite all of it. And again, I think this would be a bigger payoff if it had been clearer what was going on in Seven's head throughout it.
Yeah.
I still don't know whether she meant to betray them, whether she actually wanted to go back to the collective.
I always got the thought that she's she's being manipulated, and she's also thinking of the best for Voyager when she goes back. That the Queen said, "I'll let Voyager live if you return."
Right, yeah.
So I think Seven had the manipulation to do it, and like the little worms were in her head already from the Queen's been sending them subspace messages. And then she speaks to her directly what to do. And I think it all plays together that she was manipulated into doing it. It wasn't something that if she was on that mission without any pre-warning from the Queen and the Queen said something while she was on the mission, I don't think Seven would have left. I think she was manipulated into doing it.
Yeah, I just feel like it's a bit of a missed opportunity. Like, I think it could have had a much more emotional impact if it had just been a little bit crisper, a little bit clearer.
Yeah, like
they were going on.
We had the part where there's Janeway and Naomi, don't we? And she's looking at it, and Janeway. That's when Janeway works out that signals are being getting sent to Seven. But there needs to be something to protect that from happening again. Then.
Yeah, well, presumably there will be, but. Yeah, I mean, it's a good episode. It's not Way of the Warrior. It's not First Contact, but it is a good, fun episode.
It was a fun episode. I'm sure if I actually look through all my video collection, which is shoved in a cupboard and it's just rammed of videos, so I can't be bothered, that I've actually got this movie.
Well, there you go. Well, if you find it, put it on the Facebook group. Yeah, I think that about does us then. So if you want to get in touch with us, we're at RetrekPod on Twitter. You can email us retrekpod@gmail.com. Or you can come on the Facebook group and have a chat with us. Yeah.
Next week, obviously, if you listen to this on the podcast, we don't know what you're going to hear.
No, we have no idea.
But if you're watching us live...
If you're watching us live,
like the big news is that tomorrow morning, going to be up bright and early because Lower Decks Season 2, Episode 1 drops on CBS All Access. Fully aware not everyone has access to that from America. But the even better news, if you haven't, they've sorted out all the scheduling this year. So it drops on Amazon on Friday morning.
Yeah.
In fact, knowing Amazon, it'll probably be on at midnight.
Yeah,
because Picard was.
Yeah.
So lots to look forward to there. So we'll be covering that next week. We're not sure of the second episode that we'll cover, but we've got what is it? The Star Trek Experience Las Vegas is happening from today through till Sunday, and we've got a sneaking suspicion that they might drop a Strange New Worlds trailer at some point this weekend. Yeah. So we'll be talking about that as well next week if it does.
Yeah. If not, we'll find something else to talk to you about. Yeah. Maybe Union War, maybe an episode that's referenced in Lower Decks. We'll see.
Yeah.
But thanks for trekking with us this time. And we will see you next time on the Retrek.
Thank you. Bye-bye.